All right. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, when was it that Obama beat up on me? Thursday? The Harry Smith interview. So, you know, I got a request from Byron York in the Politico for a reaction. And I gave him a reaction, and I said, I've never seen a regime that governs against the will of the people, purposely like this. I've never seen a regime that is so inconsiderate of the American people. I've never seen a media so impressed and supportive of a regime amassing such power. This set Chris Matthews on fire Friday night. Oh, yeah. We have two sound bites. He's talking here with F. Chuck Todd. I don't know that F. Chuck Todd ever appears in our soundbite, but here's the first of two.
I've never seen language like this in the American press, referring to an elected representative government, elected in a totally fair, democratic American election. We'll have another one in November. We'll have another one for president in a couple of years. Fair, free, and wonderful democracy we have in this country. And this guy, this walrus, underwater, makes fun of this administration, calling it a regime. We know that word regime. It was used by recent presidential, by George Bush, regime change. You go to war with regimes. Regimes are tyrannies, they're juntas, they're military coups. The use of the word regime in American political parlance is unacceptable, and someone should tell the walrus to stop using it.
So, and he's right. I mean, my use of the word regime is to connote an authoritarian government. And it fits. It is a regime. They're governing against the will of the people. The election be damned. Public opinion be damned. The budget be damned. The Constitution be damned. What the hell else is it but not a regime? Here's the second bite, but the best is yet to come. Not this bite, it's what follows.
What about the walrus, walrus underwater, Rush Limbaugh? What do you make of a guy calling this a regime today to the D.C. newspaper? He calls this government a regime. I've never heard that language. This isn't Stalin. This isn't some junta. It was elected the same way, and a Republican would be elected. And next time if a Republican is elected, it'll be a Republican administration. It won't be a regime. We don't have regimes in this country. We have Franklin Roosevelt. We have Harry Truman. We have Ronald Reagan. We have administrations. To use the word regime suggests to me, just like kill the Nazis, regime change. More part of this neocon lingo.
So Byron York, himself amused by this, started doing some searches. And he found out that during the Bush administration, and I might get these two reversed, the New York Times used the word regime 24 times to describe Bush, including Maureen Dowd a number of times in her column. The Washington Post described the Bush administration as a regime by no less than Howard Kurtz, 17 times total, Howard Kurtz once. And none other, wait for it, than Chris Matthews himself in 2002, while talking to a panel about Bush's horrible response to 9/11, starts asking Al Sharpton a question: what do you think this says of the Bush regime? So the Post has said it, used it, and written it. Grab soundbite 6 and have it standing by again. Chris Matthews himself has used the word regime, as have numerous MSNBC hosts, in describing the Bush administration as a regime. Knowing that, listen to this again.
I've never seen language like this in the American press, referring to an elected representative government, elected in a totally fair, democratic American election. We'll have another one in November. We'll have another one for president in a couple of years. Fair, free, and wonderful democracy we have in this country. And this guy, this walrus, underwater, makes fun of this administration, calling it a regime. We know that word regime. It was used by recent presidential, by George Bush, regime change. You go to war with regimes. Regimes are tyrannies. They're juntas. They're military coups. The use of the word regime in American political parlance is unacceptable, and someone should tell the walrus to stop using it.
I gather he thinks I sound like a walrus underwater when I say what that means, but nevertheless, Chris, your own network popularized it, your own New York Times, your own Washington Post, and even you, sir, back in 2002. At least once that we could find. It was all over the left's discourse. The only difference here is, remember, nobody really got upset about them calling Bush the regime, because It had no basis in fact. The reason these guys are upset is because it's true. They're upset because I have the audacity to properly describe this as a regime.
The truth lives here. Rush on the EIB network.
The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I mean, I don't have that too often.